By now, you've heard about Global Poker, one of the fastest growing online card rooms available in the US and Canada today. So what's stopping you from trying it out? Global Poker is a safe and secure social poker site that uses their own patented sweepstakes model. Signing up is easy. You can use Google, Facebook, or just an email address. You can always play for free on Global Poker, but you can also buy gold coins for additional play, which will earn sweeps coins that can be redeemed for real cash to a bank account, Skrill account, or even as a gift card. Get a free 5,000 gold coins when you sign up right now at globalpoker.com.
Poker Stories is an audio series that features casual interviews with some of the game's best players and personalities. Each episode highlights a well-known figure in the poker world and dives deep into their favorite tales, both on and off the feld.
Hello and welcome to Poker Stories, a podcast brought to you by Card Player, the Poker Authority, and hosted by me, Julio Rodriguez. This is episode number 101, and it features Mark Newhouse. Mark is a World Poker Tour champion. He won the Borgata Poker Open in Atlantic City back in 2006 for $1.5 million. And he is also one of the top limit hold'em players in the world, having played huge cash games over the years. In fact, he would often skip the tournaments in favor of playing high stakes cash, even as high as $1,500, $3,000 limit. But I'm guessing that the majority of my listeners know Mark for the now infamous tweet he sent out in 2014. For Mark's sake, I will tell the story as quick as I can. Mark made the final table of the 2013 World Series of Poker main event and waited 4 agonizing months for the finish, only to take 9th place. A year later, he tweeted, "Not fucking finishing in 9th place again." Sure enough, he made the final table once again, waited 4 months again, and finished 9th again. It was 2 back-to-back scores worth a combined $1.46 million, but it is not a highlight that Mark looks back on fondly, which we will get into in this podcast. Anyway, that's enough intro. Here's my conversation with Mark Newhouse. I am here with Mark Newhouse. Mark, how you doing?
I'm good, man. What's going on?
Yeah, you hanging in there?
Yeah, everything is good. I've actually had a somewhat prosperous quarantine, but yeah, can't complain.
Nice. Well, we will get to that for sure. Yeah. But people here want to hear the whole story, so we're gonna go back to the beginning. Okay. 1985, Chapel Hill, North Carolina. Yeah, I assume you were born a Tar Heel fan. Required, right?
So, my whole family, my dad was a professor at the University of North Carolina. My brother and sister both went to school there. So my family, it's a Tar Heel family for sure. When I was very young, there was one year that I kind of decided to be a rebel, and I rooted for Duke, Blue Devils.
Wow.
And it happened to be, I think it was 90-91 when they won back-to-back. And it kind of stuck ever since then.
Yeah, your parents are just calling you a bandwagoner.
Yeah. So basically ever since, it just happened to be those years. And, so through high school and all of that, I was the Duke fan of the family and of my school, where all my friends were Carolina fans, and always made for fun banter and stuff like that. But in recent times, I kind of just stopped caring about any of that. And if either team happens to be playing, I root for both of them now.
Yeah, it could have been worse. You could have been a State fan or something.
Yeah, right.
Anyway, what were you getting into back in the day? What was little Mark into?
Oh, man. That's a long time ago.
Were you the athlete? Were you the Magic the Gathering kid?
I mean, when I was like in elementary school or like 5th grade, I think I played around with the Magic like a very small amount, but I never really got into it seriously. Yeah, I was not into extracurriculars for sure. No, was not an athlete. Wasn't really into any of that. When I got to high school, I was into like partying and things of that nature.
Oh, so it started early.
Yeah, yeah, I'd say definitely started in high school.
Well, you definitely made it to a university, so it's not like it derailed you too hard right away. Appalachian
I
State
made it. I
University.
made it to a university for 2 attempts at semesters, but did not finish either of them.
Was that strictly because of poker or other reasons?
The second time was because of poker.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, the first time I actually, so I had the fake ID, and everybody came to me to like go buy them alcohol and stuff. And the first time around, I basically, yeah, I got no credits. I was failing out of every class. I did not really wake up to go to class very often, and I was basically spending the whole time partying and drinking and stuff. I actually, the first time around, I got kicked out for 3 drinking offenses.
Oof. 3 strikes.
Yeah. Um, so then I went back home and just kind of did my own thing for a while. I eventually found poker and got into it during that time off.
Okay, so
Um,
this wasn't a high school thing. You caught it while in college
I caught
or
it,
in
yeah,
between
during the time
colleges.
in
Yeah.
the 2 semesters. Just started playing like little small home games with friends. Playing for $20 or whatever.
Was this because of watching Moneymaker on TV or WPT?
I think it was because of Moneymaker. Yeah, that was the first exposure to it.
Okay.
My brother played a little, like just a little bit here and there, but I was in different circles. Um, so so yeah, I started playing just little home games. Eventually, I found party poker,
So
and
the
yeah,
story online is that you deposited $50 and within a month you turned that into $100,000. And then
okay.
the next month you doubled it. Is that true?
So that's not completely true.
Okay.
Um, I went back to school the second time around.
Appalachian
Um,
State.
yeah,
What were you
and
studying?
I wasn't. I was studying poker.
Got it.
Um,
Didn't even pick a major.
no, well, no, it's basically the same thing. I did not go to class. I did not try. I was not taking anything seriously. But this time, I was not drinking or partying or any of that. I was just reading a bunch of 2+2 books and playing party poker. Now, so I deposited $50 several times. Probably quite a few times. I'm not sure exactly how many. Um, and busted it a few times. One of those times, I ran it up and started playing limit hold'em and moving up through the stakes. Right before I turned 21, I had 2 consecutive $100,000 months in a row.
Got it. So like
Yeah.
when you're doing those 100K months, is it kind of kamikaze style where you're just moving up to the next biggest game each time you
Um,
have a buy-in?
I was playing. I moved up fairly quickly, but those 2 months were played. I was playing 100, 200. I was playing the same stakes, the biggest game on Party Poker.
Still a six-figure month at 100, 200.
One two
That'd be great.
online is a lot bigger than 1-2 live.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it was also basically I turned 21 and I dropped out right after the second $100,000 month was March of 2006 or February of 2006. And I turned 21 in March.
And that's obviously a big year for Mr. Newhouse, 2006.
Yeah.
Let's get into. Oh, first let's talk about what did the parents think about you going pro? I mean, you did have six figures in the bank account, so
Yeah. Well, they saw the money and they basically. I don't think they were in complete approval, if that makes sense. Like, they would prefer I do something else, but at the same time, I think the attitude was more like, you're an adult, you make your own decisions, and and best of luck with
Yeah, take that Duke jersey off.
it. Yeah.
All right, so 2006, that was actually my first year covering the World Series, and I think I met you at that first final table you made, the $3,000
The
limit
limit
hold'em
hold'em.
event. Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember that was like all the limit wizards were at that final table. You had like Ian Johns, who I think won it,
Yeah.
Jared Ankenman, Brennan Taylor.
And I remember Scott Lazar and Theo Tran were there.
Yes.
And Gavin Smith was doing some kind of commentating or having fun anyway.
Yeah, he was around.
Yeah. But yeah, that was almost certainly the first tournament I had ever played.
Really? Okay, because it's weird when you look at your results. You have you have big results, obviously, and we'll get into them. But it doesn't look like you were taking a lot of shots back then either. Very sparse tournament schedule.
I was I mean I was a limit cash game player for the most part at that time. Now taking a lot of shots, I played 8 and 16 100 that summer.
Yeah.
And I was playing a guy named Paul Horn, who is now dead. But I was playing him heads up 4 and 800 to 6 and 1200 over at the Venetian. I was playing big cash games.
Yeah. That the action was just too good to waste your time in tournaments.
At the time I didn't take tournaments seriously, and I more than like didn't take them seriously, I didn't have any respect for them. Mm-hmm. If that makes sense. I was a cash game guy. I didn't really have any respect for the people who play tournaments. And yeah, so I was just kind of messing around at any time that I played one. Now I feel very differently now, but that was my mindset at that time.
Well, it's understandable given you're playing, with where the big blind is the basically two buy-ins of the tournament. So
yeah. So yeah, there was that. I made that final table. I'm pretty sure I played the main event that year. And if I played anything else, it might have been like a 1500 limit shootout or something.
Okay. Well, tell me about these heads-up matches with Paul Horn.
Oh man, I got a lot of memories from that. Do you know who Paul Horn is?
I'm not familiar. No.
Okay, he's a big guy.
The tweets though.
Oh yeah. He's a big guy from Texas. Call himself the Horn High Low. He, in more recent years, was shot and killed. He got into some bad business deal. I mean, I don't want to necessarily go into too much detail, but just about talking bad about the guy. But
people can Google it.
I
just did.
I mean, there was
wow. Wow. Okay, I did not know the story.
He was kind of like a scummy kind of guy, I guess is the way to say it. There was a guy that he owed $10,000 to at Bellagio. The guy tried to ask him for it, and he called security and tried to get the guy kicked out. There's lots of fun stories, but I don't necessarily know if this is the right place for him.
What about just keeping it to poker? So was this like a grudge match between the two of you, or a friendly thing? Or what?
Yeah, I guess it started from kind of like talking shit at the table at Bellagio, and deciding to take it to the Venetian. He, in a full game, people like to play with him. In a heads up game, he's much tougher, but yeah, I mean, he was definitely a character. He was a lot of fun to play with until he got drunk to the point of it really starting to get ugly, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it's a common tale you hear with some of the bigger names in poker from back in the day.
Yeah, you could almost say something the same about like Gavin.
They're good until their 12th beer.
Yeah.
Yeah. But did you come out okay in those matches or?
Yeah, I won.
Yeah.
It with big swings. We were playing mostly 4 and 800, but it got kicked up to 612 a few times. But yeah, I won overall.
All right. So fast forward later that year, you decide, hey, maybe tournaments aren't so bad, and the WPT comes to
No, well, I had
Borgata.
not made that decision at this time yet. But
Really? Okay.
I went to Borgata to play cash games. Um, we were playing a 2 400 limit game that broke early morning, like 7 a.m. Me and two other guys from that game, the last three remaining, decided to go play a satellite and swap a little bit of action. One of them is Brad Libson. I don't know if you know who that is, but he's still around. The other
Yeah.
one is a guy who's no longer around. A guy named Colorado John.
Man, everyone
But
had a name back then, huh?
yeah,
Were you Chapel Hill Mark ever?
I think I was just New Hizzle or Hizzle. Those are the names. That came from my Poker Stars
Yeah.
name, and also like just a kind of a nickname I had back in before poker. But so yeah, it's like 7 a.m. None of us slept. We decided to play a satellite, and I won it. And then I can't remember if I went straight on to play day one from there or if it was the next day, but I feel like I might have went straight to play day one on no sleep. And this was something I did not take seriously at all. I was just having fun. Yeah, I mean, it was. I was having fun. I was raising every hand. Back at that time in 2006, tournaments were, especially East Coast tournaments, were a lot easier than they are now. And that's a strategy that can kind of work. Now, these kids are a lot tougher than they used to be.
I saw some pretty crazy stuff covering tournaments in AC and a Foxwoods. Just some head scratching stuff out of a 10K.
Yeah.
So but obviously, it went well for you. You make it
Yeah.
down to the winner's circle, $1.5 million. You were playing high stakes at the time, so you were comfortable, but that's still life changing money, right?
Oh yeah. No, I had probably run up about a half a million in poker before that. And I also remember that very week, I was on a huge downswing at playing 3 600 on Ultimate Bet. So I probably lost 180,000 the week before that tournament.
Was that a
But
legit downswing?
I don't remember. It
Exactly.
was. What I remember about Ultimate Bet is it was very fast. Or you mean a legit downswing because of all the absolute scandals and stuff?
Exactly.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, I thought you were asking whether I was playing bad or something.
Oh no, no, no. That could
Yeah, no,
happen
it
anytime.
was. I mean, I think I know all the people who I was playing against, so it was a kind of small circle at that time. I'm not really concerned about. I don't think I was ever super used.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if that got into the limit games at all.
Yeah, if it did, it was probably not really at a time I was playing a lot. Um, but
So,
yeah, but I remember I had a bad week, and then I won the tournament 1.5 and got pretty close to 2 million in my poker bankroll.
now, do
Uh,
you
yeah,
splurge at all when you have a big score like that?
at the time, no, I did not. I moved straight into the Commerce Casino and was driving rental cars and playing 1,000, 2,000 limit hold'em every day.
So it just went into the bankroll. There was nothing exciting you bought with it.
Um, at this time in 2006, I'm not proud of it, but that's what we did. Um,
Wow.
later on, years later, after I've been broke a few times, that I bought a M5 that I drove for a couple months before having to sell it back. But at this time I was strictly focused on poker and not really looking to spend my money.
So you mentioned that you went broke. Wikipedia says the same thing. You went broke several times. It says that on your profile. Was it playing 1,000, 2,000? Was it just bad staking deals or?
It was a little bit of everything. I made a lot of mistakes. I mean, like I said, I moved straight into the commerce. I was not in a good frame of mind. I was kind of gambling on everything. I remember I had a couple bets with Gary Wise. That like I just wouldn't play poker for a day or wouldn't gamble for a day, and if I lose, I owe 10,000 to a charity of his choice, and I couldn't I just couldn't do it. So I was in a bad place at that time, and losing and
When you
just
say
kind of on a mission
gamble,
to light it on fire, huh?
when you say gamble, do you mean like play poker above your means
No,
or
that
pit
means like
games,
in
sport
any
bets?
kind of way.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, for the bet, I mean, that means just take a day and go do something else for a day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, were you having trouble with pit games and non-poker stuff?
No, that was never really a big issue of mine.
Okay.
Um, like here and there, just for fun or whatever, but that was never a big issue of mine. My issue was playing big heads up online against, all the best players in the world.
Do you remember
And
a particularly brutal session?
I do. You probably already know where I'm going with that one. Um, there was a guy on PokerStars named I Want Your Money. I mean, there were several. This is probably the one you're referring to. There was also another 24-hour session I played against Joe Cassidy. There was, I played lots against Haas TBF.
Oh, Horolenko.
Yeah. But anyway, we'll focus on that one. So this is the biggest, not my biggest losing day in poker, but biggest in session downswing. Actually, I might have had a similar in session downswing when I was playing against Joe, but in over a much longer period. But so this guy, I Want Your Money. I started the day with like 60 something thousand in my account. And we started playing 500, 1,000, and I was beating him pretty good. We kicked it up to 1,000, 2,000, and I was winning about 260,000 from him at one point, and he was
Damn.
down to like 13 or 18,000, some small amount that compared to the rest and the stakes that we're playing is not much. At the time, I was chatting on AIM with Neverwin. And he had like a very small sweat piece, like a
This is
10%.
Dustin
Dustin
Wolf.
Wolf. Dustin
Yeah.
Wolf, yeah. He had a small 10% sweat piece just for fun. And he was telling me I should just quit him and leave him with the 13 or 18 or whatever thousand he had left. I didn't want to do that for several reasons. One, I mean, it's just bad etiquette to have a guy that buried, and it's.
And then quit
I
him.
would still never do that today. If I'm playing a guy and I got him down to his last little bit, I'm gonna let him continue to play until he goes broke. I that's
Right. It may seem like
yeah.
mercy to others, but to him it's pity, and he doesn't want that.
No, not pity. He said the reason I should quit him is because I'm risking the whole stack to win just a little bit more.
Oh, that's interesting.
That was Dustin's reasoning for quitting him. But I wouldn't do it because I have the guy buried, and it's just like not a nice thing and bad etiquette. I always want to, if I have a guy buried like that, I'm going to let him quit me generally. And if he's down to his last little bit, give him the chance to win some back.
Yeah, and if the situation were reversed and you were down to your scraps, you'd want a chance to get it in there,
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, but the guy ended up making a big comeback. About 45 minutes later, busted me for my whole account.
Oh man!
I guess I was beating him for like 220, and he busted me for 60, so I lost 280 straight. And that was that kind of set me off for a while.
Wait, when you say set you off, do you mean like prolonged tilt or?
Yeah, I think that's what I mean. Yeah, I mean, I was just at Commerce. Like, I would have Commerce playing minimum 4 and 800 every day, and I would have, I had friends pull me to the side and tell me like, just I need to slow down. I'm not playing well. I'm not making good decisions, but I didn't want to listen to anybody. Yeah, I was kind of just on a mission to light it all on fire.
Did you tell yourself that you had like a number in mind to get to, or like an end game?
I don't think so. I don't really, the whole period is somewhat of a blur and very long ago. So I don't necessarily have an articulate sense of what was going on in my mind right now. But I can definitely tell you, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess I was just kind of in this buried mindset where I just wanted to get back to whatever the high point was, and that was the only thing on my mind, the only thing that I had any energy for.
What about limit hold'em games in general during this time? Because I'm assuming they're getting harder to find.
Oh, it's not like it used to be.
Yeah.
Now the biggest, Commerce. It looks like Commerce just reopened, and I actually checked their app yesterday, and they did have a 2 and 400 game, but that's as big as it gets.
Yeah.
And that's a super tough game these days too. Back in the day, they had 3 tables of 100, 200. They had always 4 and 800 running that would eventually get kicked up as high as 1,000, 2,000. And those games would be actually very good, especially the higher that they were, they would be great. And it would often be, a table full of all pros could be a great game because everybody had money and people were drinking and losing. The right person's losing. They just completely lose it. It's not like that anymore because nobody has $1 million bankrolls like they used to, so everybody's got to take it much more seriously.
Yeah.
And yeah, like I said, 2-4 is as high as it gets, and that's a very, very tough game. Not the way that the bigger action used to be. And
you said you played
all the people who used to play 4 and 800, they're all playing 60-120 now, 40-80.
You said you played 1,000, 2,000. Is that the biggest game?
The biggest that I've ever played is 1,500 and 3,000.
Yeah, was that in Bobby's room or
That was
just at LA? Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you ever make the trip over to Bobby's room?
So you know what? Believe it or not, the biggest I played at Bellagio is 8 and 1,600. And that was my first summer. That was 2006 that I played that game. I had actually never played in Bobby's room up until about a month ago.
Really?
Yeah. I had played. So nowadays in Bobby's room, they'll spread 2 and 400 in there. It used to be, you had to be playing like 1,000, 2,000 back then when poker was much more popular. Yeah, and when I played that 8-16 game, it was in the middle of a very busy World Series. They're playing 4 and 8,000 in Bobby's room. So, and in more recent times, I played lots of 4 and 800 at Bellagio, but it was always like during December when it was busy, and they're playing at least 3,000-6,000 in Bobby's room, so that game doesn't go in there. But actually, about a month ago, I played a 2040 no limit that happened to be in Bobby's room, and it was first time I had played in there.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
You play all these huge games, 15-3, and it's 2040 no limit that gets you in Bobby's room.
Yeah.
That's funny.
It is, and yeah, I almost like played the game specifically for the reason that, like, what, all these years I've never played in here, so might as well do it.
Bucket list, checked it off.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we have to talk about the World Series main event. Let's start with 2013. What was your situation like going into that summer, that event?
I was staked. My Yeah, I mean, I was kind of grinding at the, like, I think I was playing 8160.
This was your
And
comeback.
yeah, but yeah, I mean, I owed money here and there, and yeah, like I said, staked, grinding 8160 level, which these days is actually a fairly big game, but back then it was, I would consider it mid stakes. And
Did you struggle with your mindset in those games? I mean, you obviously 8160 is huge to most of us, from the outside looking in, but having played, stakes 10 times
so it
bigger.
took me a very long time before I was able to play 2 and 400 and take it seriously. And eventually 1 and 200, and like during I guess probably around the year that we're talking about, I probably had played 40-80 for one of the first times in my life, on a regular basis. And it was very difficult. I remember way back in the Poker Stars days. So on online, I was like super degenerate. I used to make big runs and busted and start with like FPPs and run that up to 30-40,000 and jump against somebody playing 2-400 or 500,000 playing big and run through it there. But I always remember, like, one of the first times I played 30-60 on Poker Stars, there would instantly be a thread on 2+2. New Hizzle is broke playing 30-60. And eventually I kind of had to just learn to ignore that kind of stuff.
So it's not so much that it's for the money's too small for you to take it seriously. It's literally the embarrassment factor.
Well, we're talking about two different eras. So yeah. I'm kind of going back to the online era, whereas at the time when I was trying to play 40-80, it was more like, it's small money. It's a very different group of people, but from like my peers and people around me, I would actually, it's sort of the opposite of that, where I would get a lot of support and people kind of telling me that they're proud of me, that I'm doing the right thing. And, it's not like this, these are two very different eras, probably like, 6-8 years apart. I just kind of got reminded of telling that old Poker Star story.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, I was trying to get into a mindset of doing the right things. But yeah, no, it was definitely very hard for me. And like I said, a lot of that year I was staked and having to answer to people and, not really agreeing with all of their decisions and whatever. And, but yeah, I had not figured out how to play small at this time. It took me a long time to play 100, 200. which is now a pretty big game. And at this time in 2013, before the first final table, I had not figured it out. No. But I had attempted to play 40-80 a couple times, I think. I guess I can. So we can fast forward for a period of time to probably 2017, 2018. Okay. I had moved to San Jose. And I moved there because there's a very good 8160 game. And that was my focus, to play that 8160 game. But I had a bad run for a few months and ran out of money. And living in San Jose, it's a very expensive place to live. And I also did not have a whole lot of people in poker looking to continue throwing money at me when they didn't see me making, in their mind, the right decisions. So didn't have a lot of outs. Living in a place where, it costs $3,000 a month for an apartment. And another thing about San Jose is they do not have a strong 40-80 game. So I got put into a situation where I was forced to play 20-40 to survive and just pay the bills and have no chance of building a bankroll for about a year. And that's where I was. And during that time, I was kind of able to change my mindset and learn to take smaller poker seriously and really change a lot of my values. But that's several years later. Like, we're talking about 2013. I think I was, at that time, I was satisfied at the 8160 level, but with aspirations. But I definitely wasn't really looking to play smaller anyway. If that kind of answers.
No, yeah, that's fascinating. I mean, I can't even imagine, the journey from, $50 deposits in college to the highest games in the world, basically, and then back to 20-40. Humbling and also inspiring that people can stick it out.
But like I said, from my peers who it's nothing but positivity when people see you doing the right thing. But it's still not easy to do the right thing.
Right.
If that makes sense.
Well, yeah, let's talk about the back-to-back ninths.
Okay.
It's no secret. People will have heard it in the intro. 730 grand for finishing ninth in 2013. What were your thoughts on that finish? Were you, disappointed back then, or?
Certainly disappointed, but I went into it without a lot of chips. I believe I was 8th in chips.
Mm-hmm.
So it's hard to have too high of expectations, but at the same time, you're hoping you at least go somewhere. And they got the 4-month break where everybody's getting pumped up and all of that.
Well, how was the break for you? Was it like psychological torture, or you didn't sweat it?
I spent 2 months in Europe. And actually both breaks, I was living at the Commerce Casino, I believe. And I got an apartment in LA after the second one. So, and I was kind of, so you don't know whether you're going to win 700,000 or 10 million. It's hard to make important life decisions, if that makes sense. And
one gets you unstuck and one changes your life.
Yeah, and just different. You're going to sign a lease on a different apartment.
Exactly.
So
real quick, how many nights do you think you've spent at Commerce in your life?
Too many.
Do you think it's over a year?
Oh yeah, I 2 separate stretches of a year and a half.
Oh my God.
One is 2006 and 7, and one is 2013 and 14.
Holy shit! I never would have guessed. Over 3 years of commerce. That's crazy.
Yeah.
I was depressed because I think I have 2 months there.
I think I spent the entire year of 2007 there,
Wow.
and like a lot of like the 2013, 14, probably like the whole year of 2013, I probably spent there too.
That's crazy. All
Yeah.
right, so back to the World Series. Obviously, you have that final table result. And before we get into the agony and the tweet and stuff, can you describe how you approach the main event strategy-wise? Was this like Borgata? You just splashed
No,
around?
not at all.
Okay.
So the main event is a very slow structure. It's 2-hour levels. Um, it's a soft field. Uh, so every day I kind of just went in with the mentality of my goal is to get through the day. And you know, in a smaller buy-in tournament with a faster structure, you really have pressure to accumulate chips. In the main event, you don't. You have a lot of time. So you can kind of just relax and play poker and try not to gamble too much and try not to get involved in big pots and just let the chips come to you, because the opposition is generally, until you get to the end, pretty easy compared to most other tournaments.
Yeah.
And it's a very slow structure, so it's not like you're worried about the blinds creeping up on you. So yeah, you try to just stay out of gambling situations. But at the same time, the second time around, in 2014, when I had chips, and I think I was chip leader after day 5 or something like that. And I'm up against a pretty soft field. That's when I can really take advantage and just go back to the old Borgata style and raise every single hand.
Yeah.
I think I'm on TV winning a pot with 9-4 offsuit from early position in 2014.
Yeah, you'd already done it the year before, so you kind of you knew when to put pressure on.
Well, the year before, I did have chips for a very, very brief period of time on day 7. But otherwise, I don't think I had chips the whole tournament. Or not like, chip leader really put pressure on people chips. I know I busted, I forgot his name, but the guy with ace deuce against ace jack on day 7 of 2013. And I think I was chip leader for a very, very brief period of time and then lost it all back very quickly. But yeah, in 2014, I was much more confident, and yeah, I also had already been there before, had already experienced what day 6 and day 7 is like.
Yeah.
And
that
I
was
had
actually your
chips.
third deep run because you finished.
Yeah, 2010. I went to day 5. Yeah.
Yeah. So all right. So let's talk about the tweet. July 6th, 2014, infamous tweet. You say just bought into the main event, day 1C, not fucking finishing 9th again.
Yeah, not fucking finishing 9th again, and then I finished 9th again.
Yeah.
I remember Martin Jacobson, I think in 2015, tweeted not fucking finishing 1st again.
Gotta tempt fate,
Yeah.
Maybe this Twitter's magical. All right, so let's talk about the emotions. First, let's talk about you make the November 9 again, and people are already bringing up that tweet right away. That's got to be weighing on you for a while.
Yeah. So so I was sponsored by Commerce both years, and I think in 2013 they, for some reason, decided to wait until the final table, not during the whole 4-month period, but after the final table, they put up a big banner that said, "Congratulations, Mark Newhouse."
Right in your house.
Yeah. And
Right in your downstairs living room.
I couldn't, I can't go anywhere without people telling me how great of an accomplishment this is, and congratulations, and blah blah blah. And
Actually, I read a story on the Daily Tar Heel.
I did that like a month ago or something. Yeah.
Right. By the way, Duke didn't interview you. It was UNC.
Yeah, that's true.
The quote I read here was, "I still get random people coming up to me and trying to congratulate me for like the worst thing that has ever happened in my life."
Yeah, pretty much.
Is that true? It can't be the worst thing that's ever happened in your life.
I mean, it's certainly, I'm here. This is kind of a different thing that we're doing right now. This interview, but day to day, it's not something I particularly like to hear or talk about.
I can imagine.
So, and people they don't get it. Some people get it.
I was in the room when it happened. I remember you going out in ninth again, and I mean, there's a part of me that went, "Oh shit, what a great story!" Poker lore. But part of me went, "I guarantee you, he would have rather finished 10th. I guarantee, even though it was less money, I guarantee, just so he wouldn't have had to think about it."
Well, not only that, it's less money, but there's a better chance of holding on to some of it when you don't have a 4-month break where you think you're getting 10 million.
Yeah, both times you allow yourself the thought of what first place could feel like.
Yeah.
Ugh.
If it's just over, if you get 400,000 in July and it's over, okay.
Great finish.
You're not happy, you're certainly not happy, but you go on with your life. Yeah. So the thought of the possible 10 million and the confidence and the way that I was running over the field before the break and the momentum I had, there's no reason to hold on to any of that money. So there's that. And
well, obviously you don't like talking about it, so I don't want to harp on it too much. But these days, are you at least a little bit better about it? I remember when we interviewed you right afterwards, you said it was no big deal, good result. You shrugged it off pretty well then.
Yeah,
but I
think
imagine
I was
years of talking about it.
really, really trying to like hide my emotions and just kind of sneak up to the room and just be a good sport about things. No, I was definitely in 2014. I was definitely very beat up about it.
Yeah, well, you guys heard it here. If you see Mark in a poker room, don't go up to him and talk about it.
Well, I mean, if anything, it's fine, but please don't say congratulations. Like, that's such a great accomplishment. You're so good. Don't those kind of things. I don't need to hear.
At least commiserate with him.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that was kind of your last big tournament score. So
I haven't really been playing tournaments much in the last few years.
Been focusing on cash.
I play just about. I probably play about 2 tournaments a year these days.
Okay.
Well, now, I mean, I was in San Jose for 2.5 years, and then I moved back to Vegas, and then most of the year 2019, or I guess the end of 2019, beginning of 2020, I was in San Jose again, but while paying rent in Vegas and staying in Airbnbs up there. But yeah, I mean, when I'm up there, I don't really travel, so I play Shooting Star, and then come to Vegas for the main event.
Now, are you in San Jose just because the limit action is good in the Bay Area, or for activism reasons?
Was just for the 8160 game. So now that game doesn't exist anymore. Even though Bay 101 is open, I'm not even sure if they have poker. But yeah, no, it's Silicon Valley. It's a good poker game. Everybody's got a job. Everybody's happy. It's kind of a different environment than the Commerce. Vegas, I love Vegas. If poker was the same in Vegas as it is in California, this is, I think, where I would want to be. But, Vegas is very seasonal, and there are times when poker in Vegas is pretty dead.
Yeah. So you're still playing limit, right?
Yeah, for the most part.
So I
Yeah.
assume for you, it's all about where is the latest action, and in times that has been, in the Northeast or even Colorado had a big limit game for a
I
while. And
took a trip there once to Colorado, probably in February of 2018, maybe 19,
yeah.
probably 18. Um, and that trip did not go well for me. I think the altitude got to me, and I was like, after like 4 hours at the poker table, I would just be so tired and like couldn't
Oh
keep
my
my head
God, that's
up. And yeah,
crazy that you brought that up because that was the first time I got vertigo was coming down off that mountain at in Black Hawk, Colorado.
yeah.
Yeah, but I remember seeing the game. They had, a limit hold'em game that was 100, 200, and
I
I
think
didn't
that
recognize a single person. It was
no,
all like farmers.
yeah, it's a good game. I think they get a regular 30-60. Occasionally it's 50-100. On that trip, I also realized that I am a kill game fish.
All
Um,
right.
so several reasons for that. Um, if you watch me in any of these deep runs in tournaments, you will know that part of my style and part of what back in the day, very long time ago, Doyle Brunson's super system, uh, the no limit hold'em chapter. Part of the advice he gives:
Play a rush.
when you win a pot, get in the next pot. In a kill game, that is not a good strategy because if you win two pots in a row, you have to post a 1.5 times blind in whatever position you're in.
Yeah.
So it's almost like a very big rake after you've won a pot. Um, but yeah, my style is I win a pot. I like to play the next one. I also, if I'm playing a 30-60 game and I have an opportunity one hand to play 50-100, I'm kind of going to want to get involved in that too, which is also bad in a kill game. So yeah, I'd rather stay away from those kill
If I
games.
if I remember that chapter correctly by Doyle, wasn't part of the logic that people will give you more credit on the second raise? Like, surely he wouldn't do this with trash two hands in a row.
I don't know if I remember exactly what the logic was,
You just
but
like the
I mean,
advice.
in general, one piece of advice that I give to people is that is counterintuitive to what most people do and how they manage themselves. I think it's best to play long poker sessions when you're winning and play short when you're losing. Um, and I don't care who you are. Everyone plays better when they're winning and worse when they're losing. If you want to either lie to yourself or think that that's not true, then let's forget that aspect of it. Maybe you're exactly the same, win or lose. Everyone else, while you're winning, is losing, and while you're losing, is winning. And when you're
Mm,
losing, they're playing better against you. And when you're winning, they're playing worse against you. So that's kind of
I like
part
that. Even if you're neutral, they're playing better.
exactly. Which and a lot of people will say they are neutral, but they're not. It's
Mm.
uh, I I'm Phil Ivey is pretty known for playing short sessions when he's losing and coming in there, getting stuck real quick and quitting.
Yeah.
Um, it's a skill that he has. So yeah, that's part of it is. But yeah, when I win a couple of hands in a row, I usually open up my standards.
All right. Switching gears from poker, can we talk about you getting arrested?
Yeah. So in San Jose, um, so before we go there, I'll so I lived at the Commerce for a couple of years. I kind of mentioned that I was in San Jose for a year while paying rent in Vegas. I'm very bad with leases.
Okay.
So I renewed my Vegas lease, I think in August of 2019 to it was over September. So I guess I renewed it in September. I took my first trip to San Jose around September, and then I just stayed there for a year.
Did you lose your whole apartment?
I paid rent in Vegas the whole year.
Okay.
Without being here. I came for a couple weeks, like in December. And then in March, right around the shooting star, I was staying in Airbnbs this whole time. I finally found an apartment in San Jose, and I finally signed a lease in San Jose. Then coronavirus happens, and the casino closes. And I actually was playing a home game up there for the first few months, and that worked out, so I stayed there while that was going on. But anyway, during that period of time that I was without a casino in San Jose, George Floyd got murdered by police. And I saw on the news that, like, right outside my apartment, there's protests going on. So I decided to go check them out. I believe the first night of protest was a Friday. I was not there for that. But I saw on the news, like, it was all rioting and looting and violence. So I decided I would check out the Saturday protests. So when we talked about, like, my college experience, and, I used to get in trouble a lot, and I've had a lot of dealings with police, and, without getting into too much politics, I'm no fan of police. In general. So I decided to check out the protests. What I saw on Saturday was a peaceful protest with militarized police lined up in riot gear with tanks and all kinds of stuff. Randomly, the worst that would come from the crowd of protesters is someone might throw a plastic bottle into the line of police, who are very well armored. And they would return with shooting tear gas and rubber bullets at everyone in the crowd. So this was my experience on Saturday night. That happened a few times. Eventually, the cops broke it up, and I was exposed to tear gas and kind of ran away from it a few times. I believe I got hit by what was probably a ricocheted rubber bullet, because I got hit by something that I noticed, but it didn't hurt or leave a mark. I hit my ID in my pocket. But so anyway, the first night I kind of just went to go check it out. That was my mentality. After my experience the first night, and what I saw was very violent police aggression toward peaceful protest, I got much more motivated to go back again the second night. And emotionally involved, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So
weren't you live streaming it?
No, I was not live streaming it, but I took a lot of videos and posted a lot of them to Facebook and later. So the second night, one thing I actually left out of our first conversation is how I initially got into poker. Was like I said, I used to get in trouble a lot. I actually started playing $20 home games after court mandated AA meetings. I left that out, but whatever.
Wow, as a teenager.
As 18, yeah, 18, 19. Because I would get, like, arrested for underage drinking kind of stuff. But that's how I found poker, actually. Anyway, back to the current topic. So the second night that I went was a Sunday, and it was the first night that they had imposed a 8:30 p.m. curfew. I think 8:30. Um, and no one really knew about the curfew. So, we're all there protesting. 8:30 comes around, they're on a loudspeaker and say, this is an unlawful assembly. Curfew is in place. You need to disperse. Nobody cares about that. But 8:30 comes around, and eventually they kind of start chasing us around, and really start and just start arresting people. I got arrested in that group. I think on the first night, actually, we got chased around a lot too, by like big line of like biker cops with just being aggressive with sirens and stuff, and trying to corner people. But yeah, so the second night we're with a big group, and kind of yelling at everybody, stay together, don't run, because they can't really do anything to you if you're in a big group. But eventually the cops intimidated people and dispersed us into a much thinner crowd. And I was with a group of people that kind of went through somebody's yard and out the other side. And when I got to the other side, there's cops with big guns pointed at us, get on the ground, whatever. So that happened. And then I got zip tied up and put on a bus, for with a bunch of other guys, and they had a camp set up at the SAP Center, which like a stadium there. And we stayed on the bus for probably about 90 minutes, watching the group ahead of us get processed. It was good, great company, cool people. Everybody's laughing and joking while we're zip tied on the bus. And by the way, very close quarters during pandemic. So, and I've actually spoken to some lawyers since then. I think I don't know if I'm supposed to talk about it, but I think they're organizing a class action against the San Jose Police Department for violence and how they treated people and stuff like that. I also was on the bus with a guy named Alex Lee who was running for state assembly, and he gave me information to get in touch with lawyers who would take care of all my legal fees. But the case ended up getting dropped. They decided not to prosecute anyone who got arrested that night.
Yeah, it just inconvenience you for many hours.
Yeah, exactly. So I was, I was stuck on this bus for 90 minutes. Then they take the zip ties off, they write me a ticket, and they put us on another paddy wagon and drop us off at the Great Mall, which is like 10 minutes outside of town, and then we had to find our own way home.
Crazy. Well, I mean, given what you've seen and the time that has passed, what are your thoughts? Are you optimistic that we're about to turn a corner in this country, or is it doom and gloom?
I think progress is being made on this stuff, sort of. I mean, I think I think the average person on the street feels differently right now than they did in like 1992, Rodney King,
Yeah.
or especially like the 60s or whatever. But it's certainly not where it needs to be. And
What about the poker community?
Um,
I mean, card player makes no political alignments where try to remain as neutral as possible. But if you look at the Schulman's Facebook and Twitter, it's pretty obvious where everyone stands here, and the majority of the poker
yeah,
community, especially at the top, is left leaning. So
yeah. I'm good friends with Jeff. And I see the stuff that he posts, and he's pretty funny about it.
he's just
But
trolling.
but yeah, I mean, the poker community is also pretty diverse. I see stuff from both sides, and I see stuff from people who I've known a long time and never really talked politics with, and then like it looks like they just start posting all this racist stuff that is another world to me.
Yeah, where was this guy before?
Yeah. But no, I mean, I think, at least among like most like higher stakes people who I consider to be pretty intelligent, I agree. It's probably more left leaning. But here in Vegas, I meet a lot of people who are into like the conspiracy stuff. Um, and who
Yeah,
just
especially
don't.
after the shooting, for sure.
Yeah,
There's some
and just
crazy
like
stuff.
who just like refuse to like believe anything that comes out of mainstream media. And I'm not necessarily a fan of the way that the media spins things a lot of the times. And
Right, like you just said,
like,
there wasn't any rioting going on where you were.
yeah, or like, I'm absolutely no fan of Donald Trump, but I do think that CNN could afford to be a little bit less obsessed with everything he does every day.
Right.
And I don't think that that is productive or helpful.
Or at least
But
focus on, the policy errors rather than, him
whatever he
lying
tweeted
about
or
his
yeah,
hair taxes or whatever. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. And I don't think that helps, and I think it actually motivates the people who are followers of his to just completely not even believe any of the facts.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, I mean, the country's definitely in a crazy place right now, man. There's, it seems like it depending what happens this election, um, whether the results are even accepted by half the country. It's hard to say. Like I said, I think the average person on the street is more aware and feels differently about Breonna Taylor than they did about Rodney King, and I think that's progress. Um, but we still don't really see a whole lot of accountability, and half the country is just on a completely different level from where I am, and that's kind of scary.
Yeah. Yeah, well, hopefully a few months pass and we can start worrying about poker again.
Yeah,
That'd
right.
be nice to focus
Yeah.
on that. We have some rapid fire questions to close it out if you're ready.
Okay.
All right. Do you collect anything?
Uh, Concert T-shirts.
Okay. Do you have to go in order to get it, or any concert T-shirt will do?
No, I have to go.
Okay.
So I've been out of that for the last year, but yeah.
So yeah, obviously concerts are gonna be a little bit before they come back. Um, what are your favorites?
I'm a big fan of the Grateful Dead and you know now spin off and cover groups of theirs, but um, you know the current one is Dead and Company. Big fan of that music
That's
among
John
lots of
Mayer's on
other
there.
things. John Mayer is on there, and you wouldn't think it, but he's a very talented
Oh no,
guitarist.
I'm a fan of him as a solo artist. I'm
Yeah.
no shame here. I'm a big fan.
But so before I saw Dead and Company the first time, I only knew of his like more commercial like Your Body Is a Wonderland stuff, and
Yeah, bubblegum pop.
yeah, but no, he's super talented.
No,
He's very good.
he's more Clapton like when you watch him live.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. So that's it. That's your favorite show.
Yeah. I mean, I would say that's definitely my favorite type of music to see live. Yeah.
Do you have a favorite album?
Uh that's tough. So with the Grateful Dead type of music, they were not very talented in the studio. So if I have a favorite album, it has absolutely nothing to do with them.
Yeah.
Um, they're more of a live act. But I'm aside from live music, I like just a huge wide variety of stuff. I'm into 90s hip hop. I'm into 70s rock and you know blues and starting to get into like some Motown stuff. I'm into all kinds of different music, and it's really hard to pinpoint an album.
What
So,
about a favorite movie?
It's another one. It's pretty tough. I was I remember I used to always be a fan of Scarface, and I'm also a fan of everything that Quentin Tarantino does.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Who's the most famous person you've ever met?
Um, I mean, I don't know if this really counts as meeting. I shook Bernie Sanders' hand a couple years ago or last year at he had a little thing in
Yeah,
Vegas.
any
Yeah.
encounter counts.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I couldn't count half of mine.
Yeah. That's probably going to be the most famous.
All right. Biggest pot you've ever won or lost? Your choice.
Biggest pot.
It is limit, so I imagine.
Yeah, like I'm mostly a limit guy, so I don't really, play. There's pots that are probably 30,000-40,000, but I don't count them. I've yeah, it's hard to say with
There was
pots.
never that one pot that was 6-bet pre 5 ways and capped on every street.
There probably was, but I don't remember it.
All right. What about the best swap or piece you've ever had of anybody?
Every year Chino wins $1 million, and I usually have some kind of small piece of it.
Oh, really? You're the one who gets a little bit of that Chino money.
Small, I like 2%, but
It is
it's,
crazy how he comes through though every year. It's insane.
he's amazing. I mean, and you know what? Like half the time I swap with him, and in the first level he's just like, "Oh, I went off with ace queen and I'm out," and I'm just thinking like, why do I swap with this guy? But then literally every year he wins $1 million, and I realize that's why I swapped with this guy.
If you ain't first, you're last. I mean, the guy's all or nothing. That's very efficient.
Yeah,
If you
absolutely.
gotta play tournaments.
Good hourly rate, probably.
What is a talent you don't have that you wish you did?
Um, hmm. Probably wish I was better in social situations with strangers.
Are you an awkward person?
Yes, I mean probably somewhat around people I don't know. I'm not one to like start up a conversation.
Oh, I thought it was like the opposite, where you're too personal right away.
No, definitely not. So I at a poker table, I feel like I have like some level of like hustle in me. Where at a poker table, I'm kind of able to turn it on. But yeah, in like real life situations, if I'm in a crowd where I don't know anybody, I'm not good with starting conversations and talking. So.
Do you have any awkward moments that you just replay in your head over and over?
I don't know that I can think of any.
I have a few. It's pretty bad, but yeah, I can see where you're coming from. Are you superstitious at all?
Try not to be, but
I mean, how bad does it get? Do you like wear the same clothing for a week, or?
I can tell you in 2014, I ate all the same meals during the tournament that I ate in 2013.
Oh, okay. So what was that meal?
Uh, After day one, I went to dinner with the same people that I went to dinner with, and every single other day, I ate nothing during the day except for green shakes from All American Dave's. And after the day was finished, I went to Tropical Smoothie drive-through and got a sandwich and a smoothie from there.
You were just All fruited out.
Yeah.
Now, was Dave not there at the final table?
I think he was there.
Okay, I didn't
Yeah.
know if you you could blame him for anything.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I think he gave me a sticker that like that I had to like turn the cup or something like or I don't remember. It was, but yeah, and yeah. So that brings me to something kind of different. The first piece of advice I like to give people when they ask me for advice in tournaments is I tell them don't eat on the dinner break.
Oh,
Yeah.
just because.
Every time I've ever eaten anything on a dinner break of a tournament, I come back and I do something stupid. The digestion process slows you down. I think it's better to be fasted, and you might even get into somewhat of a state of ketosis where your brain's just kind of working on another level.
It's as a poker reporter who's covered hundreds, if not thousands, of tournaments. I notice that if players come back from a dinner break and there's like maybe 2 or 3 levels left, it is the slowest 3 levels. Like we don't lose anybody. Everyone is full and lethargic.
So I would actually think it's the opposite
Well, it's
because
crazy. But if you go play Bellagio at WPT there, where the dinner break is at the end of the day, people are going nuts before.
Okay. So I kind of misheard what you were saying. Yeah. So yeah, when the dinner break's at the end of the day, I mean, for me, whenever I go eat anything, I just come back and I just bluff it off. I do something stupid. I don't think properly. My brain doesn't work after I eat a meal. So,
do you like telling people that you're a professional poker player?
I'm very honest with everyone that I meet. I don't think anything of it. I don't think twice about it. Um, I don't necessarily like or dislike. I just, what do you do? Oh, I play poker.
Oh, okay. Any crazy reactions?
People are usually like, "Oh, that's cool. You must be really good," or I'm just,
Hey, aren't you the guy who finished 9th twice in a row?
Yeah. So
Congratulations.
I will never bring that up in conversation, but usually if I'm with a group of friends, that's the first thing that they say.
You remember him? He's the guy who is looking daggers through your soul right now.
Yeah.
All right. Do you have a celebrity doppelganger, or have people ever told you look like somebody growing up?
Yes. Not recently, but back, probably through my 20s, I was getting Brendan Fraser a lot.
Really? I mean, I've seen him recently, and it's not great. So,
yeah.
But let me see, young Brendan Fraser.
I was getting and there's another guy that kind of looks like him that I don't remember his name, but it's like a guy who was in Mallrats.
People are saying that Ryan Braun from the Brewers looks like Brendan Fraser. Let's see. Mallrats, huh?
Yeah, the tall guy with dark hair in Mallrats. I forgot his name, but I think I was getting that guy too.
Let's see. I gotta pull it up because I gotta get it. Okay.
Yeah.
Kevin Smith. Also, I met him at a poker tournament. I think it was 2006 when they had that big Ante Up for Africa event.
Okay.
Let's see. You're not talking about Jason Lee.
No, not Jason Lee. The other, he was I can't remember the guy's name.
You know what we're gonna do? We're gonna find it out and insert it awkwardly into this audio. Oh, Scott Mosier.
Here, you know what? Let me try.
I think I found it. I think it's Scott Mosier.
That doesn't sound familiar. I think it's.
Wow, Michael Rooker was in that movie?
I think
All right, Jeremy London. I don't even see him in the list. Oh, he's second build. What am I talking about? Oh, yeah, he does look a lot. You know what? He looks like Brendan Fraser and you. He's definitely the
at least from the like 2000s to to teens, time,
Wow. Jeremy London, what happened to you? He's still acting. Wow. Okay.
Yeah, he
Anyway,
doesn't look too good in the recent pictures either. This one looks like he's in a yellow jumpsuit.
listen. None of us are getting a lot of sleep these days. It's hard to
Yeah.
judge. All right. Do you have a nemesis, somebody you can't beat, or somebody who's always held over you?
Yes. I haven't played with him in a few years, but Tommy Hang is.
Oh wow, yeah, from Washington.
Yeah, I've when people ask, it's a different era now, but back, when I was playing a lot of Commerce high stakes limit hold'em, people would always ask me who the best player is. My answer was very quickly Tommy Hang.
Yeah, he was part of that Washington crew that would always fly down to Commerce to play the limit games.
Yeah, him and
like Rep Porter,
Rep and
Ian Johns.
Yeah. But yeah,
Crazy.
no, I think Tommy's super tough, and he's a guy who I've always had trouble with.
He did win a bracelet. I remember he won a bracelet in something.
Yeah.
All right. Shout out to Tommy Hang. All right. Biggest pet peeve at the table.
I really try not to let anything get under my skin, to be honest. Outside of like talking about 2013 or 14 World Series poker, I'm pretty. It's hard to really annoy me at a poker table, I think.
All right, we end the podcast the same way every time with a question from the random question generator. You ready?
Sure.
There we go. If you had to change your name, what would you choose? I guess you've never had an issue with the name Mark, huh?
I've never thought about it.
What's your middle name?
Stephen with a PH.
Okay. What if you had to go by Steven Newhouse? That'd be
that would feel kind of weird to me, I guess. If I yeah, I don't know if I have a real answer for that. Yeah.
All right, here's another one.
Okay.
What is your favorite board game?
That's also been many years, but I guess let's say Monopoly.
You don't play any high stakes chess ever?
No, I have friends that are very good, but I'm not.
Monopoly. You ever played a real game of Monopoly, like with real cash?
No, I haven't.
Who was the person? I think it was Gus Hansen
that
did that
with real cash.
Yeah, they just replaced all the cash in the game with real money and played until somebody had it all. Anyway, Mark, thank you so much for taking the time and coming on the podcast.
Yeah, for sure, man. No problem. Thanks for having me.
That is the show. Thank you once again to Mark for coming on the podcast. You can watch Mark as he plays poker or hikes in nature, or maybe even gets arrested again by following him on Twitter and Instagram at Mark_Hizzle. I also asked him if he had anything he'd like to promote, and he strongly recommended the Step and Go toilet stool, a proper toilet posture aid available right now on Amazon. So you might want to check that out depending on your bathroom situation. You can follow us at Card Player Media or at poker_stories. And as always, get a free digital subscription to Card Player Magazine by leaving us a nice review and a 5-star rating. Let us know that you did so with an email to pokerstories@cardplayer.com. Thanks for listening.